The warning lights on Captain Jack Reeves' cargo hauler Stellar Drift had been blinking amber for 3 days straight, and now they'd escalated to an angry red pulse that made his teeth ache. The drive core temperature readings climbed steadily toward the danger zone, and he knew he had maybe 6 hours before the whole system shut down, or worse, went critical. Nexus Point Station wasn't exactly the kind of place you'd choose for emergency repairs. Built from salvaged hull plating and held together with determination and prayer, it clung to the edge of civilized space like a rust-colored tumor. But it was the only port within range, and Jax had heard whispers in the cantinas about a mechanic here who could work miracles with broken tech. The repair bay smelled of coolant, ozone, and something that might have been lunch from last week. Sparks showered from a nearby welding station, and the constant hum of machinery created a backdrop of organized chaos. Jax found her wedged halfway under a battered freighter, only her legs visible in oil-stained coveralls. "You Tirka," he called out. The welding torch went silent. A moment later, she slid out on a mechanic's crawler, and Jax felt his breath catch. Her skin was the pale blue of winter sky, marked with darker patterns that might have been natural or might have been old scars. Vibrant red curls escaped from beneath her work cap, catching the harsh fluorescent light like captured fire. Her eyes, when they met his, were the color of deep ocean, intelligent, measuring, and slightly annoyed. "Depends who's asking," she said, her voice carrying an accent he couldn't place. She wiped grease from her hands with a stained rag, the motion somehow graceful despite the industrial setting. "Captain Jax Reeves. I've got a cargo hauler with a drive core that's about to turn into a very expensive paperweight. Word is you can fix things other people can't." She stood, and he noticed she moved with the fluid efficiency of someone who'd spent years in zero-G, drive core, huh? "What class?" "Modified Helix, 7. Been running hot for weeks, but now it's cooking." Tirka's eyes narrowed with interest. "Helix 7s are temperamental. Most mechanics don't understand their harmonic resonance patterns." She paused, studying him with those ocean-deep eyes. 5,000 credits. Parts extra. Take it or leave it. "That's highway robbery," Jax protested, though he was already reaching for his credit chip. He needed his ship running, and something told him this blue-skinned mechanic might be his only hope. "It's expertise," she corrected, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "You want cheap, try the drunk human in Bay 7. You want your ship fixed right, you pay my rate." Jax handed over the credits, wondering what he'd just gotten himself into. The next morning, Jax found Tirka already deep in the bowels of his ship, her toolkit spread across the deck plates like surgical instruments. The drive core housing lay open, revealing the complex crystalline matrix that powered faster-than-light travel. She worked with a precision that bordered on reverence, her blue fingers tracing pathways through the mechanism as if reading ancient scripture. "Coffee?" Jax offered, holding out a steaming mug. She glanced up, a smear of coolant across her cheek. "Thanks." Her fingers brushed his as she took the cup, and he noticed how warm her skin felt despite its alien hue. "Your resonance chambers are completely out of alignment. How long since you had a proper tune-up?" "Define proper," Jack said, settling on a nearby crate to watch her work. There was something hypnotic about her movements, the way she seemed to understand the ship's systems better than he did. 6 months. Professional calibration. She took a sip of coffee and made a face. "This is terrible." "Station coffee. I can get you something better planetside after you fix my ship." The offer hung in the air between them, and Jax realized he'd just suggested something that sounded suspiciously like a date. Tirka's expression remained neutral, but he caught a flicker of something in those ocean eyes. "I don't do planetside," she said finally, returning to her work. "Too many questions." "What kind of questions?" She was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. "Then, the kind that get people killed." The weight of that statement settled between them. Jack studied her profile as she worked, noting the way her jaw tightened when she concentrated, the delicate curve of her neck beneath the fall of red curls. There were stories written in the set of her shoulders, in the careful way she never quite relaxed. "I'm running medical supplies to the Kepler colonies," he said eventually. "Dangerous route, but the pay's good. Pirates like to hit medical shipments. Smart of them. High value, low bulk." She extracted a burnt-out coupling with practiced ease. "You'll need someone who knows drive systems if you're planning to run hard." "You offering?" She looked at him directly then, and he felt the full weight of her attention. "Depends. You the kind of captain who asks questions?" "Only the ones that matter." "And what matters to you, Captain Reeves?" The question was loaded with meaning he couldn't quite parse. "Getting the job done. Keeping my ship flying. Staying alive. Good priorities." She turned back to the drive core, but her posture had relaxed slightly. "I might consider it. If the price is right." They worked in comfortable silence after that, Jax handling the simpler tasks while Tirka performed the delicate calibrations. He found himself studying her hands, graceful despite their strength, moving with the confidence of someone who'd spent years mastering her craft. "There," she said finally, sealing the last access panel. "Try her now." The drive core hummed to life with a sound like singing crystal, smooth and powerful. The temperature readings dropped into the green zone and stayed there. "I've never heard it run that quiet," Jax said, genuinely impressed. "That's because it's finally running properly." Tirka began packing her tools with the same methodical precision she'd shown in her work. "About that medical run." "Yeah. I'm in. But I want passage, not pay. And no questions about where I go when we reach Kepler." Jax nodded, though he found himself wanting to know exactly where she planned to disappear to. "Deal." 3 days into the run, they hit the first pirate scan. Jax's hands flew over the controls while Tirka worked her magic on the drive systems, coaxing extra power from the harmonics she'd so carefully tuned. The ship responded like a living thing, dancing between asteroids and sensor shadows with newfound grace. "How did you know to reroute the tertiary feeds?" Jax asked as they cleared the danger zone. "Lucky guess," she said, but her eyes avoided his. That night, unable to sleep, Jax found her in the cargo bay, sitting cross-legged on the deck with her back against a medical supply crate. The harsh work lights were dimmed, casting everything in soft shadows. She'd finally shed her perpetual jumpsuit for a simple tank top and work pants, and for the first time he could see the elegant lines of her shoulders, the way her alien musculature moved beneath that pale blue skin. "Can't sleep either?" he asked, settling beside her. "Don't need much." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Your ship, she's got good bones. Strong heart. She's been good to me. Especially now, with whatever you did to her drive core." Tirka turned to face him, and in the dim light her features seemed carved from moonlight and shadow. "Jax, what I did to your drive core, it's not standard procedure. I figured that out when it started purring like a contented cat." "No, you don't understand." She stood abruptly, pacing to the far bulkhead. "The modifications I made, the harmonics I tuned, they're not in any repair manual." "So where'd you learn them?" She stopped pacing, her back still to him. "Because I wrote the manual. 300 years ago." The words hung in the air like a challenge to reality itself. Jack studied her silhouette, looking for signs of deception, but found only tension and something that might have been fear. "That's impossible," he said finally. "Is it?" She turned back to him, and her hands moved to the front of her tank top. "My people, we were the first to crack faster-than-light travel. We built the first drive cores, established the first trade routes." Her fingers found the hem of her shirt. "We were also the first to die for it." She pulled the tank top over her head, and Jax's breath caught. Her torso was a work of art, lean muscle beneath alien skin, the subtle interplay of light and shadow across her ribs. But it was the mark burned into her skin just below her left breast that made his world shift on its axis. The royal crest was unmistakable, a stylized star surrounded by flowing lines that seemed to move in the flickering light. The skin around it was puckered and scarred, as if the brand had been applied with something far hotter than mere fire. "The last princess of the Veltar Empire," she said quietly. "The last engineer who remembers how the drives were meant to sing." Jax rose slowly, drawn by the vulnerability in her voice, the way she held herself like someone expecting to be struck. "What happened to your people?" "War. Genocide. The usual human response to things they don't understand." The bitterness in her voice was sharp enough to cut. "Your species found our technology, reverse-engineered it, then decided the galaxy was big enough for only one spacefaring race. Tir Ka." He reached out, stopping just short of touching the scarred crest. "I'm sorry." "Don't." But she didn't pull away. "Don't apologize for what you didn't do." "Then what should I do?" She looked up at him then, and he saw centuries of loneliness in those ocean eyes. "Just, don't run. Don't turn me in. Let me finish this job and disappear like I always do." Instead of answering, he traced the edge of the crest with one finger, feeling the raised tissue beneath his touch. Her skin was warm, alien, and utterly perfect. "What if I don't want you to disappear?" "Jax." His name was a whisper, a prayer, a question. "What if I want you to stay?" She kissed him then, fierce and desperate, 3 centuries of isolation pouring into the contact. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer as if he might vanish like smoke. He tasted salt and starlight, felt the alien rhythm of her heartbeat against his chest. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she pressed her forehead against his. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I know. I'm not human. I'm not even entirely sure what I am anymore. I don't care." "You should." He cupped her face in his hands, thumb tracing the delicate line of her cheek. 300 years of hiding. Aren't you tired?" "Exhausted," she admitted, and for a moment she was just a woman, alien, beautiful, and utterly alone. "Then stop running. At least for tonight." She searched his eyes for deception, for the fear or disgust she'd probably learned to expect. Instead, she found only warmth and a desire that matched her own. Just for tonight, she agreed, and let him lead her to his quarters. Part 4, Trust and Passion. The next morning brought proximity alarms and the distinctive energy signature of a pirate cruiser. Jax rolled out of his bunk, still half asleep, and found Tir Ka already dressed and running diagnostics on the drive systems. The sight of her there, efficient and focused, filled him with a warmth that had nothing to do with the ship's heating system. 3 ships, she reported without looking up. Military-grade sensors. "They're not just pirates, they're hunters." "Hunting what?" She finally met his eyes, and he saw the answer there. "Who, not what." Word travels fast in the outer rim. Someone's put a price on the last Veltar engineer. Jax felt ice form in his stomach. "How much?" "Enough to buy a small moon." She turned back to the controls, but her hands were shaking slightly. "I should take the shuttle. Lead them away from your cargo." "Like hell." He moved to stand beside her, their shoulders brushing. "We're partners now. We face this together." "Jax, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." He caught her hand, stilling its trembling. "I understand that you're the most brilliant engineer I've ever met. I understand that you've been alone for 3 centuries. And I understand that I'm not letting you go without a fight." The pursuing ships were gaining, their more powerful drives eating up the distance. But Tir Ka's modifications had given the stellar drift capabilities its builders never dreamed of. She worked the controls like a master pianist, her fingers dancing across interfaces that responded to her touch with almost living grace. There, she breathed, and the ship leaped forward with a surge of power that pressed them both back into their seats. Harmonic resonance cascade. Your drive core is now operating at about 150% of normal capacity. Is that safe? Probably not. But it's fast. They danced between asteroids and debris fields, using every trick in the book and several that weren't. The pirates followed, their heavier ship struggling to match the stellar drift's newfound agility. But they were persistent, and their weapons had longer range. "I need to tell you something," Tirka said as they dove through a particularly dense asteroid cluster. "About last night. Now's not really the time." "It is, actually." She made a course correction that brought them within meters of a spinning rock face. "I haven't been with anyone in over a century. Not since. Since your people died. Since I watched my mate burn with the rest of the royal family." The words came out flat, matter of fact, but he could hear the pain beneath them. "I swore I'd never feel that kind of loss again. Tirka. I'm falling in love with you, Jax. And it terrifies me." The confession hung between them as they burst out of the asteroid field into open space. The pirates were still behind them, but the gap had widened. Ahead lay the Kepler system, its outer planets glowing like jewels in the darkness. "Good," Jax said finally. "Because I'm already there." She looked at him, startled. "What?" "I love you. Alien princess, brilliant engineer, woman who drinks terrible coffee and makes my ship sing, I love all of it." "That's insane." "Yeah, well, I've never been accused of excessive sanity." Despite everything, the pursuing pirates, the danger, the impossible situation, she laughed. It was the first time he'd heard her truly laugh, rich and musical, and it filled something in his chest he hadn't realized was empty. "If we survive this," she said, "I want to show you something." "What?" "How to make a drive core not just sing, but compose symphonies." Her smile was radiant, transforming her face from beautiful to breathtaking. "It's a skill that died with my people. But maybe it's time to teach someone new." The pirates chose that moment to fire, plasma bolts lighting up the darkness behind them. But the stellar drift danced between the attacks, carrying them towards safety and whatever future they could build together. "I'd like that," Jack said, and meant it with everything he had. The Kepler colony medical stations welcomed them with the desperation of people who'd been watching their supplies dwindle for months. Jack supervised the unloading while Tirka worked on what she called final optimizations to the drive core. The pirates had given up the chase 2 days ago, apparently deciding that chasing them into a well-defended system wasn't worth the bounty. "Captain Reeves?" The station administrator, a tired-looking woman with prematurely gray hair, approached with a credit chip. "Full payment, plus a bonus for the speed of delivery. We were starting to worry you wouldn't make it." "We had some complications," Jack said, accepting the payment. "But my engineer knows her business." "About that, would she be interested in a permanent position?" "We've got 3 ships with drive problems, and our current engineer is, well, let's just say he's better with mechanical systems than quantum harmonics." "I'll ask, but I don't think she's the settling down type." The administrator nodded and moved on, leaving Jax alone with his thoughts. In a few hours, Tirka would be expecting him to let her disappear into the crowds of Kepler station. She'd find passage on some outbound freighter, vanish into the vast anonymity of space, and he'd never see her again. The thought made his chest tight. He found her in the cargo bay, running final diagnostics on the drive core. She'd changed into clean clothes, a simple blue dress that made her alien beauty even more striking. Her red curls were pulled back, revealing the elegant line of her neck, and she looked up when he entered with a smile that made his heart skip. "All finished," she said, closing the access panel. "She'll run smooth for the next 10,000 hours, minimum. And after that? After that, you'll need someone who understands Veltar engineering." She stood, brushing dust from her hands. "I've left detailed notes in the ship's computer. Any decent engineer should be able to follow them. Any decent engineer, or any Veltar engineer." She paused, her hands stilling. "Jax. The station administrator offered you a job. Permanent position, your own workshop, as many broken drives as you can fix. I can't. Why not? Because they'll find me. Because I'm a fugitive. Because every day I stay in one place increases the chance that someone will recognize me. She turned away, but not before he saw the longing in her eyes. I've been running for 3 centuries. I don't know how to stop. Then learn. He moved closer, drawn by the vulnerability in her voice. Learn with me. It's not that simple. Isn't it? He reached out, taking her hands in his. You said yourself, you're tired of running. So stop. Stay here. Fix ships. Teach me those symphonies you mentioned. And when the bounty hunters come, we'll face them together. Like we did the pirates. She looked up at him, and he saw the war playing out in her expression, hope against fear, love against survival instinct. You're asking me to trust you with my life. I'm asking you to trust me with our life. Together. The royal crest, it marks me. Anyone who knows Veltar history will recognize it. Then we'll change it. Cover it. I know a guy who does modification work, no questions asked. You do that? Help me hide what I am. I'd help you become what you want to be. He cupped her face, thumb tracing the delicate line of her cheek. You're not just the last Veltar engineer. You're Tir-Ka. You're the woman who makes ships sing and drinks terrible coffee and kisses like the universe depends on it. Jax. I love you. All of you. Princess, engineer, fugitive, woman, I love the whole complicated, brilliant, beautiful package. This is insane, she whispered, but her hands came up to cover his. Yeah, well, we've established I'm not entirely sane. She laughed, the sound mixing with tears he hadn't realized she was crying. If we do this, if I stay, I want to do it right. No more running. No more hiding. Just us and whatever future we can build. Together. Together. She kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, she was smiling, not the careful, guarded expression he'd grown used to, but something open and radiant and alive. I have one condition, she said. Name it. Next time we take a cargo run, I'm choosing the coffee. Deal, he said, and sealed it with another kiss. Later, as they worked together in the ship's workshop, Tir-Ka began teaching him the deeper mysteries of drive core harmonics. Her hands guided his, showing him how to feel the quantum resonances that made faster-than-light travel possible. The technology sang under their combined touch, creating harmonies that would have been impossible with human engineering alone. There, she said, as the drive core settled into a new configuration. Perfect balance. It should run like this for years. And you'll be here to maintain it. I'll be here. She leaned against him, solid and warm and real. No more running. No more hiding. Just us and the stars and whatever tomorrow brings. Outside the viewport, Kepler station bustled with activity, ships arriving and departing, cargo being transferred, lives intersecting in the vast dance of interstellar commerce. But inside the stellar drift, 2 people who had found each other against impossible odds worked together, building something new from the fragments of the past. The last Veltar engineer was no longer alone. And Captain Jax Reeves had found something worth more than any cargo, a partner who understood both his ship and his heart, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might throw at them. Together.